Welcome to the Indie Scientology podcast. I'm your host, Andy Nolch, and it's good to be here again, listening to Strauss. This is a podcast that has everything to do with Scientology, an interesting religion you might have or have heard about. If you like this podcast, subscribe to the bad boy. It's on my YouTube channel, Andy Nolch's YouTube channel, and it's on Libsyn's. And it's in iTunes. Just search it in iTunes. If you have no idea what Scientology is, then listen to the first few episodes of this podcast, because it answers some basic questions about Scientology, because it is a very complex subject, and we're going to be diving right into it in this podcast. How'd you like the last podcast with Alan Stanfield, Alonzo's blog king, the XX Scientologist? That was fun, wasn't it? Oh, I think we've got to go down that rabbit hole pretty soon. Oh, yes, it's time to go down this rabbit hole into the wonderful world of Scientology. Up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. Whoa! What you thought wasn't possible is possible. Welcome to the Indie Scientology podcast. I'm your host, Andy Nolch, and today's show is with the funky John Watson. He's an indie from Denmark, an independent Scientologist from Denmark. I've just got to mention something that's on my mind. I was just thinking about, if you look at all the TV news reports that are on Scientology, and radio interviews, you'll notice that whenever they're interviewing people about problems with the Church of Scientology, rarely does people differentiate between the Church of Scientology and Scientology, the religion, the subject. And you'll come across some people who are on these TV shows and stuff and these news reports who are independent Scientologists. And sometimes, whether it's the way that they edit the TV show or the news report, that indie Scientologist doesn't get to mention that they still practice Scientology. So you get the indie that will say something like, I saw David Miscavige punch someone. And so the person who's watching this news report and this TV show who knows nothing about Scientology or the church, they get the impression that just all of Scientology is bad, just everything about it is bad, and that all these people who are being interviewed don't like Scientology anymore. But that's not the case. So if any indie's listening to this and who has managed to be on some TV shows or some news reports about Scientology, before you comment on anything about the corruption in the church, because the church is a bit corrupt, okay? Make sure you slip in, hey, I still love Scientology, I'm still practicing Scientology, but yeah, I did see David Miscavige hit someone. Or yeah, I did see the church rip off some people for money, take some people's money. Make sure you mention that. Because it's just a big, big, big thing that's wrong, that needs to be addressed, because people don't know that Scientology and the church are two different things. You need to clear up the definition of those two things. They're two separate things, and you can do it outside the church. Yeah, and someone like Karen de la Carrière, obviously I'm talking to you. Okay, you're a prime example of this. because she does. She's quite a. She protests the church a lot, right? And she just talks about all the bad things of the church, and you don't even know that she's like practicing indie Scient. I can't even believe it, but she's practicing independent Scientology. But if you listen to her interviews, um, you just think that this person just totally hates Scientology. In fact, before I even left the church when I was still a church member, I listened to a whole proper interview she did on a podcast called Truth Sentinel. And I thought that she was a flaming SP that absolutely hated Scientology, right? And the church. And then after that, I find out what the hell this person actually, um, like, is an independent Scientologist and actually still practices Scientology. But the whole interview just didn't seem to mention anything about the goodness of Scientology, or it just seemed to be totally hating on it. It was just quite an odd thing. And yeah, she has her own reasons for doing whatever she's doing, but it's just like the media just seem to just love just attacking the church, and I totally feel sorry for them. It's just totally wrong, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, mention some things of the corruption. I guess it's kind of like, imagine a McDonald's shop stuffed up someone's burger and someone got sick, and they did a TV news report about it, and it was just totally bagging the shit out of McDonald's. And it was like, hey, hold on. It's not the worst thing ever. Like, yeah, there was a corruption with the whole burger and someone got sick, but it's just like, do some balanced news reports. You know what I mean? Do some balance. And they are out there. There's like two documentaries that are actually fair. Like the Reza Aslan documentary, where he actually went in and tried independent Scientology. There are some actually, there's just two of them. But otherwise, there's an avalanche of attacks on the Church of Scientology, and I feel sorry for them. They're trying their best, and they're a little bit corrupt, but it's not right, you know? Okay, um, so that's that out of the way. In the Scientology news, there is an article on the Huffington Post, and it's about Trump, and it says Trump to sign executive order making it easier for churches to support political candidates. President Trump on Thursday plans to relax enforcement of rules barring tax-exempt churches from participating in politics as part of a much-anticipated executive order on religious liberties, according to senior White House officials. The order will also offer unspecified regulatory relief for religious objectors to an Obama administration mandate already scaled back by the courts that required contraception services as part of health plans, the official said. But it will not include a controversial provision contained in a draft leaked in February that could have allowed federal contractors to discriminate against LGBT employees or single mothers on the basis of faith. The sweep of the order, to be unveiled on a day when Christian conservatives visit the White House, appeared significantly narrower than in the February draft, which had alarmed civil libertarians, gay rights, and other liberal advocacy groups and prompted threats of lawsuits. In addition to the two policy changes, the order will also provide a blanket statement that it is the policy of the administration to protect and vigorously promote religious liberty. As a candidate and shortly after taking office, Trump declared he would totally destroy what's known as the Johnson Amendment, a 6-decade-old ban on churches and other tax-exempt organizations supporting political candidates. The provision is written in the tax code and would require an act of Congress to repeal fully. A White House official said Trump would instead direct the Internal Revenue Service to exercise maximum enforcement discretion of the prohibition. Such a direction could be subject to legal challenge and would not necessarily extend beyond a Trump presidency. I can't speak to what some future president might do in some future administration, one White House official said at a briefing for reporters Wednesday night. Like others interviewed for this report, the official spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the order before it was released. The IRS says violations of the Johnson Amendment are rarely pursued anyway, but evangelicals claim it has been used selectively against them, preventing Christian leaders from speaking freely in church. The amendment is named for Lyndon B. Johnson, who introduced it in the Senate in 1954, 9 years before he became president. The provision, whose inclusion in the executive order was first reported by the New York Times, applies to all tax-exempt organizations, including many colleagues and foundations. Under current law, churches are free to promote political candidates but must forego such activity to obtain tax-exempt status. The repeal of the Johnson Amendment is also being written into the tax legislation being developed in the House of Representatives, according to congressional aides. But both the provision and the broader legislation face substantial hurdles. Although Trump's religious liberties order is likely to please a key part of base, exit polls in November showed Trump defeating Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton 80% to 16% among white evangelicals, Christians. It has caused trepidation elsewhere. Of particular concern was a draft provision providing additional freedom to federal contractors to discriminate in the name of religious freedom. If this executive order is anything like the one that was leaked in February, it would create an unprecedented license to discriminate with federal funds. Sarah, all right, that's it. I've had it with this article. Sorry. Uh, like, firstly, when I want to say this article, I didn't realize it was going to be that long. Secondly, I didn't realize it was going to have so many ridiculous words in it that you need to look up in a dictionary. This is what I don't like about newspapers. How is some kid on the street, some gangster person or whatever, how's anyone going to understand this? This is like written for like a politician, some like corporate high-fly businessman, and it's just wrong. They shouldn't use such difficult words. They shouldn't write things that are for intellectuals and people with university degrees. Like, it's just not right. They should be writing things simple so that everyone can understand it, not use such fancy words, and be nice to everyone. Like, it's a shame that this is what I hate about the media. Huffington Post I don't respect at all. They're very corrupt. But this is a classic thing that they do. It's just like, it's not inclusive. It's like me in this podcast totally using the hardest Scientology words, speaking in a really hard way so that the average person can't understand me. It's just wrong. I want to communicate to everyone, the really, really smart Scientologists and the really, really dumb Scientologists. I want to communicate to them both. But this article is just ridiculous in that it's just like too high gradient, too like fancier words and all this sort of stuff. And it's not communicating to someone. The newspapers educate adults. They're like school for adults, but they're so bad these days at not educating adults, and they're keeping them stupid because they write articles like this. I didn't get really anything from that article. There's just too many MUs. I can't clear them up. And that's the end of that article. But it sounds like a good thing in that it allows religious organizations and churches to help support the candidate that they like. Because the problem is that the way governments are being run, they're really picking on people's religions, and they're not respecting the freedom of churches and stuff. And there's a lot of atheist politicians, in particular these left wingers. I think a lot of them are atheists, and they just want to pick on people's beliefs and all that sort of stuff. So, all right, sorry about that. That was a big flunk on my behalf, that whole article. And, you know, if only people knew about clearing words and all this sort of stuff, they wouldn't write outrageous articles like that. Okay, next news item is Scientologywins.org website is coming soon. That sounds pretty cool, huh? Website, it's just about Scientology wins. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, so we've got here an independent Scientology win of the week. Okay, this is about the Ned drug rundown. The Ned drug rundown, which I've heard a lot about. Apparently, it's quite a big one. Apparently it's a very special one. I'm really looking forward to trying it. And it says, "Pop goes the world. It's been a month since I completed my Ned drug rundown in January 2017. With the help of my auditor Chris and I felt the need to put a few wins down in writing. Ned was amazing. I really had fun. It was very different than the grades. I had audited some book 1 in 1991 but never got Ned. It's a whole other beast and it's so fast. I recall uttering these exact words at the end of the very last process of the rundown. I'm in complete present time. The whole world is communicating to me. Well, I'm still here, and the world is still communicating to me. Laugh out loud. It really is. The ripple effects have been quite something. Here are the main wins. Number 1, theta attracts theta. Theta also can disinterbulate areas quickly. I'm finding that when someone is upset around me, they apologize and start calming down, or they get upset and they calm down. Number 2, the world around me is popping. Sounds, sights, smells, everything. The sky was always blue. The computer was always a computer. The brick wall was always a brick wall. But somehow a fog that surrounded me has been lifted and everything is crisp and pop goes the world. Number 3, people are more interesting to me now. So I put down my phone a lot more. I'm curious about them. I notice them. They are there with me now. We communicate. I think before that, the other beings were again always over there. The ARC was never this high. Number 4, I went from drinking 3 to 4 caffeinated coffees a day to the occasional decaf only, and instead replacing the caffeine with blended juices every day, fruits and vegetables, and my body is thanking me for it. Yeah, congratulations. I just got to say, that's awesome because coffee can be a really, really hard thing to beat as an addiction. I recently, a few months ago, managed to defeat it as an addiction. I was only having 1 or 2 a day, but I was just really into it. And man, that's a good win to have. It's interesting because you talk about street drugs and like there are people who have sex addicts and all these sorts of things, and it's just like when it comes to just coffee, it can be really hard to beat coffee. I'll continue. I'm making such better choices about what goes in the body. Number 5, I am calmer, happier, more energetic, more focused on goals, and I'm getting offers from people like this one last week at work. Hey, we are doing a 3-minute video, but we need someone to narrate the video and do the voiceover. We discussed with management and we picked you, and we think you'd be perfect. Keep in mind, 300 people work with me. They could have picked anyone. I had the voiceover done in 7 minutes with everyone smiling and amazed at the high quality voice delivery that was done with a lot of life, they said. I'm so excited about the future on all dynamics. I just see a great future with pleasant surprises and challenges and unknowns, and I'm all in. That was a great win. That's really cool. Yeah, I noticed it as well after my auditing and that you're really interested in people and things and life like is sort of more amazing and you really look forward to the brightness of the future. Like it's just you really see the positivity and that helps create because your thoughts sort of can create reality. It helps create your future to be really, really awesome. But I mean, just with me recently today, I had a bit of a cognition that was like, I wasn't getting ordered or anything, but I had a cognition that was like, because I looked at some of the news and what was going on in the world, and I was just like, man, the future looks really bright. Like, really, really, really bright. Like, we are winning. The dwindling spiral is reversing. And provided we keep on doing the good work that we're doing, Scientologists and non-Scientologists that are good guys, we are definitely going to win this bad boy. We're definitely going to come out of this long-term suppression by bad guys. And we've got such a bright future. And independent Scientology has such a big and bright future. And other practices have such a big and bright future. And positivity and truth. It's just, things are looking really, really great. I really, really believe that. It's kind of like in a football game, it's like there's only a few more minutes to go in the game. We've definitely got the win. As long as we just don't give up or really, really stuff up, we'll definitely win. We've got this locked in the bag. Freedom, goodness is winning, definitely. Just continue what you're doing, and that's all you have to do. We've locked this in. We are winning, absolutely. We've won. All right. This is a Scientology joke. Okay, this was sent to me on the internet, and again, don't expect much from these Scientology jokes because this isn't from the joke book, which is joke book definitely isn't really any good. But this one, I don't know if this is that funny. No offense to the person who sent it to me, but let's see how it is. Just don't expect much. A flashing patrol car stops along the road after seeing a man bulldozing the ground near the road. "What happened?" shouts Officer Cabbage to the man. "Hi, officer. I'm Chris Shalweed, critical thinker at large." That's a reference to Chris Shelton. "And I was minding my own business, driving my bulldozer, when this minivan of volunteer ministers ran into me and we were all crushed and killed. It was so bad, it only logical to bury them right away at the scene." "Oh my God," said Officer Cabbage. "Are you sure they were all dead?" Shellweed, with a grin, replies, "Well, officer, some said they weren't, but you know how those Scientology bastards falsify their statistics." That's a good one. I like it. I'm not going to laugh at it, but I liked it. That was good. And it was a bit of an attack on Chris Shelton. uh, you know how it is. All right. And it was a friendly attack, which I think's good. Okay, it's time now for the interview with the funky John Watson, and this is a more casual interview. He doesn't run his own org. He doesn't have a super duper Scientology website or anything to promote. It's more of a casual discussion with an independent, and he's a bit of a funky person. John Watson. He's got a reputation for just epic posts on Facebook. So I chatted with him and it was a bit of fun, and he's over in Denmark, and he's got some interesting ideas about things, and I think it was a good interview. So let's check out this interview with the funky John Watson. Today's guest on the podcast is John Watson, the funky John Watson. He's an independent Scientologist and he's over in Denmark. Are you there, John?
Yes, I'm here, Andy. Nice to meet you, and happy to be on the show. Thank you very much.
That's all right. That's all right. What are you up to with yourself these days?
Well, I'm doing a little auditing. I'm also in the middle of OT levels. I've started this, and I've got a lot going on actually, because there's not very many of us. We're a very small, independent group. Really, it's just a group of friends, really. And we do auditing, and we do a little bit of training, but we do mostly auditing.
Yep. What do you call yourself?
We don't have a name. We just call ourselves, if you want, processing outside of the church. Yep. Come along, and we do this kind of, we don't advertise on the internet, for instance, because we're very close. We're in Denmark, we're very close to, surrounded by the church, which is okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with the church personally, to a great degree. there are errors there. There are definitely errors there that could be corrected, and that's what really led me to leave and think I got to do this on my own now.
I,
Um,
yeah, I'm a bit the same as well. Like I don't have much of a problem with them or anything. Like they can sort of do their own thing. I wish them well. You know what I mean?
yeah, me too. Let's hope it gets better. Yeah.
I think they are improving. Like, um, the survival rundown that they introduced with GAT2. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was written by LRH. Like I've read policies where he talks about the survival rundown. I mean that,
Yes.
and I don't know why they got rid of it, but it's good that they brought it back, and they're like, the purification rundown that they're doing and the survival rundown. I mean, they're pretty good courses in that, and they don't break the bank or anything. So wish them well. But how many years have you been an independent Scientologist for?
Now, probably but almost 4 years.
Oh wow, you're new to
Quite,
it.
quite some time, but some would call me new. Yes,
Yeah.
some would call me new, but to me it seems like quite some time. But it's been all very good, and I'm very happy with the independent movement. I didn't know there was an independent movement,
Yeah, I think
until
yeah,
until I
really
actually came
surprising.
out. Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because there's a lot of good things going on. I also like the way that it's going back to the older stuff, the earlier materials.
Yep.
I think this is a very good idea. I mean, I did GAT 1. I didn't do GAT 2. I haven't done GAT 2. I was out by then. I had left by then. I'm not declared or anything. I'm in good standing as far as I know. Probably not now, but you know what I mean. You just have to go with your own integrity. You have to be yourself.
What so
And,
I don't know too much about Denmark, but is it basically one giant city that's like a country?
mm, it's a country probably about the size of the Netherlands.
So it's
It's quite small, but the city, Copenhagen, is where the main activity is. There's a lot of countryside and what have you,
So
outside of it.
so are you where are you in Denmark, and how can people get involved with this group?
They can just give me a call, or they can get in touch with me on Facebook, or by whatever means they like. I mean, usually by word of mouth, it's going at the moment, as we're just kind of starting up and getting things running. But we want to have things really standard and really like it used to be. We want to bring the fun back into Scientology.
Yeah.
It's like,
Did you hear that? Did you hear the contact details, Osa? Osa, do you want me to repeat his contact details? No, I'm kidding.
I'm sure they've got that. I did a mission once for Oza. It was like a James Bond type mission where I had to look after this fellow who was in not very good condition, and I had to take him out into countryside, and it was all very hush hush. I was a TT. I was actually on the TTC at that time, and I was actually ripped off the TTC to do this special mission. And it was going okay at the time, so I thought, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I mean, the guy needed some help, so I said, yes, okay, I do it. And so that's my experience with Osa.
Okay, can you explain to me how you get sent on a mission in Osa?
Well, it's like if any flap. If a flap was happening, and this was a flap, it was basically it was a guy who had been involved in Scientology, but a parent of his was very heavily involved, and he was starting to go a little type 3, more than a little. Huh? He was going pretty much type 3, you know. And the idea was they wanted someone to take him away and do the type 3 handling on him, a good long period of rest and vitamins and peace, calm, a nice, bring him up slowly so we could get him back into the church and back online.
Yeah, the introspection rundown.
Yeah, kind of, yes. We didn't actually get as far as the introspection rundown because every time he went out, he was seeing these cars, and he was saying that's one of their vehicles, they're following us, and it was a very paranoid, a strange experience, a lot of paranoid content in it.
Well, so he was going a bit crazy, and he thought people were after him. Who did he think they were?
There were secret intelligence services from various countries and what have you.
And why would they be after him? Like, what was he doing that was so?
Well, he said something had happened to him in the Danish military, that he had been like kind of PDH'd in the Danish military, And this is why it was such a big flap. Should anything like that come out, they don't want that kind of publicity.
Wow. So was he involved in the military before he did his Scientology or after?
Before.
Oh, okay. And so now he's like some target from like that's what he thinks, and
that's what he thinks. Yeah, yes, that's what he thought.
So what?
It actually went. Sorry, we got him to a good point, and he came back, and he was doing quite well for quite some time. But I thought, without that introspection run down, I didn't really feel he was going to hold there, and he didn't. And he actually ended up in prison.
So what happened with the introspection rundown? Obviously, it didn't work too well if he ended up in prison.
No, it didn't get applied. I brought him back after doing my part of it and said, right, here he is. He's up to it. He's up to the level where he can be at least communicated with. He's kind of more or less in his own valence, He's being himself as much as he can be. And now it's over to you guys, because I have my own project to do on the TTC, and I shouldn't really have been doing this anyway. I simply did it as a help factor, I said, okay, I can see the guy's a mess, and I did like him. I thought he's a nice guy, because I had met him previously, and I knew his mother. So I say I'd actually stayed at their house as a guest while on training in Denmark previously, before I lived in Denmark, So I didn't know him. So I felt I had some kind of responsibility to do something, So I did that, and I delivered him back at the church, and just nothing else was done with him after that. And then he wandered off, and the next thing I knew, he was a taxi driver, and then he was in prison. And I don't know how that all went to hell, but apparently it wasn't handled to what I would want to handle it to the point I would have taken it to had I been allowed to,
Did he do much of the bridge?
No, he hadn't done much of the bridge. He had done pure objectives, I think, and that's it. He'd had some like life repair auditing, basic life repair auditing, and then he went into this strange thing. He had actually knocked a hole into the woman's house next door because he thought there was some kind of implanted microphone in the wall, which it's the kind of thing these cases have. It's by no means unusual, but it was unusual for the woman next door, obviously, to have someone cracking through a wall, into a living room.
Yeah.
So that was a bit disturbing.
It's interesting because I've heard that about that there's like a Men in Black, and they if someone's exposing the truth about certain things, kind of like the Office of Special Affairs, like they'll try and come after you and that. So it's kind of interesting because some of these people are actually being truthful. I'm sure some of these people are being truthful, but I'm sure a lot of them are just type 3 PTS, and they're. But anyway, you never really know. It's pretty hard to find out the truth, But what sort of I think what you said, he was the kid of someone who was a high profile church member.
Not high profile, but she was on lines at an AO, at an advanced O. So it was a question for them. It was a flap for them, to have a son in that situation. I expect now they've just simply made a disconnect, the way they've been misapplying this disconnection policy. They would have just slammed that in. If it happened now, that's what I would imagine to happen. Just clear it off the lines as quick as possible, and not even try to do anything with it.
I reckon my experience with people who are low toned and who are, PDS type 3. Yeah. I mean, look, it is the safest option. Just disconnect. Just get out of there. Just don't. It's just a lot easier. Yeah.
There is that viewpoint, yeah. It's because you see, he was connected to his mother, and his mother was doing quite well. She was ready to go into OT3. I think she was on eligibility or something like that, but she was ready to go, you know. But she wasn't going to go with a son in this condition. They weren't going to have that, you know. This was something that needed to be taken care of and getting off the lines in one way or another. And unfortunately, he did it himself in the end. He handled it himself he voted with his feet, you know, and kind of just
Yeah.
blew the place. And I did see him in the city as a taxi driver, driving around in a taxi. And then the next thing I heard, had actually been put in prison for something. I don't know what he had done. I didn't get the full data on it, but he was in prison, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and
Oh,
these type 3s are pretty risky as well. Like, I heard of a story of, there's a documentary of it on YouTube of, a family in America where the son was type 3, and he'd just been, causing problems for the family for years. And then at about age 30, there was a little bit of a family argument, and he just ended up stabbing his mum to death. And,
mm,
you know, like, that's pretty crazy, you know what I mean? So I think
yeah.
look, I think the parents were a little bit at fault in that they had gotten into an argument with him and sort of angered him a little bit. And these sort of people, you just don't do anything to key him in. That's
Hey,
not good. So that was not good that they got into an argument and sort of keyed him in a little bit. But also, um, I don't know, like, I think that it's like family in that it's obviously, you should love people and care for them, look after them, but there's a point where if somebody is just causing heaps of problems for people in everyone's universe, there's a point where it's better for everyone just to disconnect, you know?
yes, if they're dangerous and they're criminal and they're causing all kinds of mass chaos,
Yeah, and
chop,
yeah,
chop
exactly.
it. Why bother? You
Yeah,
know, I mean,
and what?
why?
Yeah, and what if they end up stabbing you to death? Like what happened to this poor family?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
but it's just I think that people, because of the family connection thing, that people really cherish it a bit too much. Like I think it's really like family's really good and you got to love everyone and help everyone, but some people take it too far in that they're like, blood is thicker than water. Family is extremely important, and therefore, a lot of people, and this is just any people. They just have problems in their life with family members because they don't just ignore people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that in the second dynamic generally. This often occurs. You know, you have like the rebellious teenager and what have you, who goes a bit too far. You maybe gets into drugs and all of this, and goes off his head one day and gets the family gun out and starts, shooting away and this kind of thing. Yeah, these people, they need to be spotted kind of early, and like you say, don't create antagonism. If the family's creating some kind of antagonism, especially with someone in that condition, there's a good chance he is going to blow up. It's you're dealing with dynamite. You don't really know what he's going to do. He may react in a way that you're not expecting, but then again, he might go completely off his head.
Yeah, I mean,
It depends.
yeah, and it's just
It depends what his picture is, huh? What his mock-up is of what's going on around him.
yeah, and it's just I don't know. I think it's because I just see a lot of situations. Now that I'm a Scientologist and like I know a lot, I just overhear things and hear a lot of situations where I think people are just they're cherishing the family almost a little bit too much, and and it and it means that for years, like parents or brothers or sisters get keyed in by someone in their family. For years and years, the person just pisses them off, whereas they'll probably just better off just disconnecting and just going screw this and just leaving. You know what I mean? And then cause I just see it like. I got a friend, and I know that his mother is a bit like keys him in a bit, and I he moved out of home when he was like 21 years old, and the changes in him were just much better because he wasn't in this environment where he's getting keyed in and all this sort of stuff, and a similar thing happened to me, and it's I don't know, it's just you know, uh, family should be there to help you, and it's like a team thing. But
Hmm.
at the same time, it seems to backfire, and a lot of people just get keyed in by families.
Yes, I also see that. I can see that a lot. That does happen a lot. It's the normal daily living kind of business of living within a family group. And yes, as Scientologists, I mean, probably we see ourselves not so tightly bound to the family as we are individual thetans. And okay, we got here through a family track, through a line, and you have a mother and you have a father, and of course you love them and you care for them, etc. But I know what you mean. You don't take it to the wild extreme. It's like
Yeah.
they're another being, and they will have their future and their track going ahead and going into whatever they go to. You may never have contact with them again. You may not.
Mm.
A very good chance you may not. I mean, look how many Satans are out there.
Yeah, and I think that you being spiritually sound and having case gain and winning and positive, that helps your family. So I think that's the most important thing. It's not driving a Ferrari or, really getting involved with your family, really looking after them. It's like you being in a good shape. And I remember someone I think asked Jesus once, they said, what's the number one rule? And he said it was something like really loving and praising God or something, and then he said loving your neighbors or whatever. But I feel it's a similar sort of thing in that it's like it's sort of saying case gain is the number one thing. You being spiritual and all that sort of stuff is the number one thing, and then after that, you can help people in your environment, and everything's effortless. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
I noticed it
Hey,
in my family. Like, you just get case gain, and the family gets better. So instead of ignoring getting case gain and trying to handle the family, you're probably better off doing more ignoring of the family, and then you can be able to handle the family a lot better.
that's a very good way of looking at it, Andy. That's my experience. Also, I have a great relationship with my family, all of my family. My brother is also an ex-Scientologist. He has had it declared, unfortunately, but he's in England. So anyway, I'm in Denmark. He's in England, but we get on very well. Where the family, we have a great family, and it's. Well, I've never had any trouble. I had a good upbringing, a good standard of living, and what have you. And I could never say that anything I might have done that isn't great. I could never blame my family for it. I would
Yeah.
always accept responsibility and say, "This is mine. It's on me. It's happening to me. Obviously, it's on me."
Yeah,
You
that's a very
know.
good point. Yeah. So what you yeah, like yeah, it's very good to always look at things from like your own front, like how I'm to blame for things, and how can I solve the problem? Because when you say it's someone else, then you can't do anything because you just go, oh, it's just that someone else. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they caused it, and then what can you do? Nothing. But if you say I caused it, then you go, okay, how did I cause it? And you start thinking of solutions. But anyway, so when you went to do this little mission for OSA, how is it that somebody can get on a little mission for OSA? Tell me how that exactly happened.
Well, the director of OSA in the AO simply came up to me and said, "John, can I have a word with you?" And we went in the office and he told me the situation. Said, "We want you to do it. You've been here a few years now," because I'd been there for a few years on services and on training. And he said,
So
"We know
you
you."
weren't a staff member, obviously, right?
I
No.
was a staff member, yes. Yes,
Oh,
I
so
was
you
a
were a
staff
Sea Org
member.
staff member?
Not a CEO staff member, no, but a staff member.
Oh, okay, all right. For which
Yeah,
org?
yeah. From an org in. Actually, I was at that time when I went on training. That time with this case, I was working for Narconon, and they sent me as a on the technical training corps
Oh,
to get trained. You see,
oh wow.
so previously I'm from an org in England, in Sunderland, in the northeast of England, and that's where I originally came from. And that's where I first made contact with Scientology, and I thought, yes, there's something there, but it didn't fully close me. It wasn't until I got to AO. Okay, sorry, let's go back a little bit. It wasn't until I'd seen the wins from the pure over and over and over, and the objectives over and over and over, and the case gain from TRs, because they do give case gain, even though they're drills, they give case gain. You know, he says this, LOH says this, you know, and they do give case gain. And when I saw that, I thought, yeah, that's it. There is something there, but I wasn't quite getting it from that class 5 org. So I called up this guy in Sweden, incidentally, who was the ED of an Archon at the time. I said, I fancy doing something a little bit different. Have we got a place, any vacancies or anything like that, or do you need any help? And he says, well, what have you got? So I told him what training I had and what I'd done, etc., and where I was on the base. And he said, hey, man, you can come today, you know, can you come today? And I said today? And I said, yes, basically I can come today. Yeah. So the next day I was there, and that was it. And after a very short
so you went to Narconon. You're saying that's when you went to Narconon?
Yeah. Yeah. And I did course supervising, and I was a supervisor, so I did the course supervising for quite some time. And then I put in for training, because I could see that at the AO, that's where the best stuff's going to be, probably. You know, yeah. that was my feeling, and I was right about that. You know, I did get, when I got there, Scientology really opened up for me. You know, and I saw, this is it. This is basically what I've been looking for all my life. You know, I've been looking for. I've always had a spiritual outlook. You know, I've always known I was kind of a spiritual being, but when I got there and I had done some courses and done some, especially after some training, I saw, wow, this is really it. You know, you can really change people with this, you know, and we can get enough people involved in it, we can make a major change in the world, which I don't think is going to happen now in the particular way that it was mapped out by LOH. But it is a point that LOH probably thought of that, because I think he studied most religions and how he knew the track of most religions. Once the leader died, it was basically a fight or a coup d'etat or a battle of some kind to take over the power of the church afterwards. Yep. And I think he may have sent out Captain Bill and David Mayo and these other people who kind of went out earlier and ended up in the independent movements. He may have saw that as a solution to what he knew was going to happen when he left the body. You know, there was going to be a scramble over power as to who was going to get to the top, and it appears to be DM, but I can't qualify that. You know, I don't know that, but certainly I don't adore him. Huh? I mean, I saw your thing on the change of FNs, and that was a very good one. The podcast you did on that was very good. I looked at that and I thought, yeah, and it made me look at the whole thing again. You know, because I mean, when the thing I came up with was LOH's words. You know it when you see it, you know, and that's the best way I can describe it. You know it when you see it. There's no other read like a floating needle. It's a floating needle, you know.
Yeah. So, what was the difference? This is the AO at Copenhagen that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was the difference between that and the was it a class 5 org that you were going to before that?
Yes.
Which org was that?
It was in Sunderland, in England.
Yeah. So how is the difference between the orgs?
Well, at the time, I think the class 5 org was still caught in the quickie grades, because I know when I did the TR's course setting up to do objectives, we spent about 3 hours on it, which is ridiculous. You know, you need to spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours really to get it even to really bite. You know, it's not something you do in 2 hours and that's it. You know, it's enough. This for me is not really it. You know, that was quickied a little bit, and also the objectives themselves were run for a very short time. You know, you need to run them for a long time. You need to know what you're looking for. Yeah. What is it? What is a change? What is a physical change in a person? And when do you spot it? You know, and when are they flat? At what point are they flat? Are they flat when he says, "Oh, it's flat now. I feel great"? You got to know that. No, this is the time to continue. You just keep going.
What
You
year
keep
was
going.
this? What year was this?
This would have been 87, about
Okay.
something like that. It's quite
Yeah.
some time ago. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
So
quite
so
some
so
time ago.
so the AO so the difference between the AO and the Sunderland org, it was
Yeah.
just what were the differences?
It was more like I thought I'd found the real Scientology when I got to the AO. This is what I found. I found the auditors were much more boom, direct, and natural, and the TRs were natural, and it was a much more easygoing words. What words can you put it in? It was just a good experience. You could get auditing and you could get your wins and what have you. And on training, while I was on training, I didn't really see all these negative things happening in the background, which were really pulling it to pieces. And then we got this free swings FN thing, and that I saw auditors that have been auditing for 15 years spend months on a class 4 internship that it came for
Oh
on GAT
no.
on
No.
GAT 1. A
Ah.
tremendous amount of time. Now
Ah.
that must have been a tremendous invalidation to them. That must have been like saying everything you did before that was really nothing. It wasn't it. Which is obviously not the case. People did have wins in the past. It's not only since the golden age of tech that people have started to have wins. It's not that case at all.
What?
People,
Yeah. What sort of things that you said that were going on in the background that you didn't really notice? What were sorts of the things?
the ethics handlings, the changing of the ethics, how ethics was more coming over to a type of punishment. It had a very punishment authoritative style to it, instead of to help. Like what is the purpose of ethics? It's to get tech in. Once you've achieved that, boom, stop.
Mm.
You don't need to hammer the person into the ground.
Yeah.
That's enough. It's like your LOH also says it's a little bit goes a very long way. It's very powerful technology if it's applied properly. The ethics technology. You don't need very much to clean someone up. And it's very
Yeah.
important that it's done properly. And I'm an ethics specialist, and I did do that course in particular to make sure I did know that. You know.
I noticed that, yeah, some people were, and it's happened to me, were getting taken off being audited and getting put into some ethics things that was sort of silly and unnecessary. And it was like, hold on, you need ethics to, help you to get in session and stuff. But if you're getting in session, fine, then just, leave it. Like, they were a bit too strict, I noticed.
Yes, exactly. If you're in session and you're running and you're making case gain, leave it. That's good enough. You're
Yeah.
getting your withholds off, then that's good. That's case gain. It's not a reason to pull you off and stick you on a sec check. This is one of my things with the non-interference area and the people getting sec checked every 6 months and these endless sec checking
Mm.
of people or not. They're getting this endless sec checking. Seemed to be a theme that came up that they're getting this endless sec checking. And these are people who are say overts came up. This is a good sign. This is case gain. This shows that things are going well. This is a sign to continue, not to rip them off it and start sec checking them because a withhold came up. This is out tech. Basically, it's out tech. It's as simple as that. You don't take a person off out of the non-interference area if he's going well. You just let him go.
Yeah, I've heard that there's definitely a policy by LRH that says, you're not supposed to go for these 6-month checks on the O2 levels or whatever. It basically says that. And then it got taken out of the materials. And I heard some people, I think in the 90s, found the policy, and when they told RTC, of course, they just got kicked out of the church and got attacked. But since then, they've released GAT2 and these other improvements, but they still haven't instituted the standard tech. So it's like they're saying, yes, let's make the Purif good, and yes, we're going to fix up the SRD and reinstitute that. But for some strange reason, I don't know who are these people exactly who are deciding all these things, but we're not going to, get rid of the 6-month check.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting because it's like maybe there are good people in there trying to get the tech standard, and they couldn't push through the 6-month check thing, but they managed to get some improvements through. But maybe in the future they will finally be able to push through the standard tech. But the sort of lies that Dave Miscavige says, where it's all perfect now and it's all standard now, that's just totally not true.
No. I think it's been seriously altered, and it was more standard before.
Really?
The earlier stuff that was actually written by LRH, that is the stuff that I go with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But hold on, because you weren't around for GAT2, but I noticed GAT2 is a bit of an improvement on GAT1, because GAT1 was definitely big squirreling and definitely bad. This whole changing of the definition of FN and all that sort of stuff. It was just epically bad. But yeah,
it wasn't just that, Andy. There was a lot of other things involved in it as well. I mean, just the time it took for experienced auditors to complete internships was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was totally ridiculous. It was invalidative of them. It must have been. For me, I was quite new to it, and I could do it. I could have it like that. And I finally passed mine. I mean, it has to be a perfect video, You've got that video on you, watching the meter and watching everything that's going on, You've got that extra pressure, and you've got to be just normal and order the PC, And it's got to be a perfect session from the moment you walk in the door to the moment you end it and close the door, And it's not just the FNs; it's any other outness also. You can get 3 swings, 4 swings, whatever, You can get a good persistent FN going. But if there's one other flub in that session, that video doesn't pass, you see. So they can keep you there for a very long time,
Yeah.
When it's not necessary, but they can keep you there, and on the service, and on,
Yeah, I mean, it's
sticking other courses in even. Yeah.
When I was like an 18-year-old kid and I was getting my driver's license, it's kind of it's a kind of thing, like a sort of a bit of a stressful thing, because you're like, I've got to pass the driving test, and you're sitting there and you know how to drive a car, but because someone's sitting there watching you, and suddenly, like, it just changes the whole thing, and it makes you make mistakes, because you're suddenly double thinking everything, and you're parked at the lights, and you're thinking, am I supposed to have my handbrake on while I'm parked at the lights, because I heard there might be a rule about handbrakes or whatever, and it just throws you off. So I imagine that's kind of what GAT1 did.
Yeah.
To auditors.
I mean, you get used to it very quickly. I got used to it very quickly. I mean, after the first few sessions, I was oblivious of the camera. I didn't care what it saw, It saw what I did, and that's what I do, And it was okay with me, By all means, photograph, video them, I mean, it was the same as the TRs. Poor TRs course was also videoed, The birds fly, You had to answer it, handle originations and whatever. And it had to be absolutely perfect in every way. And then it came down as a pass, from RTC. And it was always RTC who checked it out, checked the video out and didn't give the final pass, which is fair enough. Okay, it's the highest technological body in the org, so fine. Okay, I can have that. But with adjustments and changing in the tech, alterations and stuff like this, it's a different story. Then you've got...
I was going to say, did you notice that that some people at that time left because they were like, what the hell's this new crap, and just left?
Yes, some actually gave up. I think from Hungary, there was quite a few people gave up. We had a lot of people from Hungary at the time, and a lot of them actually just left and went back to the orgs, because they were able to just go to the orgs and audit. Once they had the certs, they could go to the orgs and audit for 1 year before they had to do an internship, And anyway, they could make a video from there and send it to RTC if they thought it was a passing video. no problem with it, So many of them did do that, and I did see that. I saw that myself happening.
But
But
did you see some people go, nah, this is squirrel shit, like where the hell's this RTC crap, and try and take them on?
yes, yes, I did. I saw a couple of people who simply disappeared, and I knew their viewpoint on it, and I assumed they had gone to ethics and tried to take this up and say, show me in writing, where is this free swings thing, Show me it, show me where LOH wrote that, and then I'll be as happy as Larry, and I'll actually be released a little bit, and probably be able to order it a lot better, with the pressure taken off as to, is this correct or is this not correct? Or, we must be very careful here, we must make sure it's, absolutely there, a full EP before we end the session, or it's a waste of time. You're not going to pass that video, It's like that, And as long as that was happening, it was a question of you still continued to be on lines at that all. So they were still profiting from you being there, you see. And it became like, it seemed to me like it was just an effort to keep people there longer.
Really?
Because the numbers...
Back then, did you even think that back then?
Yes, I did. That is what I was thinking at the time. Come on, this is ridiculous. This and at the time, I know how to audit,
So people were for months and months staying at the AO to get their training, and it just seemed like they were getting upsold on all these courses.
Yes. Really, months and months, many months. I saw people there who had been there. I had been there and been away and came back, and guys were still there who still hadn't passed.
Yeah.
And I thought, what is the big deal with this? This is not so difficult, once you've been through the training and you've got a good hammering of training and you've run a good few sessions, this is not a difficult thing,
Well, how long did the training take before GAT 1?
Let me see, the whole lot. I didn't do it all in one go, you see. I did it in bits and pieces, but I may say I could get to the whole lot in a year.
And what about after GAT 1? How long would it take?
Probably. Then it could take any amount of time. It was really indefinite, until you got that bloody pissing video. That was it, that was acceptable to them. Then that was it,
I think
they were the arbiters of what standard technology was, and all I wanted was to see that in writing,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I never did.
Yeah.
I never did, and I still haven't. So there you go.
Yeah, I had a friend in Melbourne who after GAT 1 came out, he did his training, and I think he did it for about 3 years, and maybe got up to completing maybe grade 2 training or something, and then just gave up or something because it was just took way too long.
Yeah, like a hard slog. That doesn't need to be a hard slog, because if you're going to be auditing people anywhere, you're going to get practice as you go. You know what I mean? You're going to improve as you go. You can't help but improve as you go along, You learn more, you get crammings, anything you don't get, you get sorted out so that you do get it, And it became, what's the point of going to cramming for something like this? There's no reference they can show you, and there's no word clearing you can do on it because the reference just doesn't exist. I've not seen it. It's verbal. To me, it is still verbal data. I've never seen that written anyway, that it must be that way, Certainly not by LOH, but I haven't seen it by anyone. David Miscavige or anybody else, Not, like I say, I'm not a fighter of the church. I'm not really fighting them. I don't like certain things they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't. It was too much for me personally to go along with. I thought, no, this splitting up of families to that degree that it was going on at the time, it was just too much, I thought it's not. this is not the emphasis, and it's not the way it's supposed to be anyway. The first emphasis on family is handle, it's not immediately disconnect from them and throw them out the window, and forget your whole, everyone every relative you've ever had,
No, but also it's like, if you have to disconnect from them, fine, disconnect. But it's the way HCO forces people to do. They override people's self-determinism and they say you have to do this. Like whether it comes to whether it's disconnection or something else, it's like, I have the authority. They think they have the authority from the tech and LRH that you need to do this, and it's just like, hey, you should really be an advisor. You know what I mean? You advise me and you help me, but you don't control me and tell me exactly what to do because you're not me and you don't know. You know what I mean?
Spot on. That's exactly it. It's there to help. Ethics is there to help you. It's not there to punish you. We have committees of evidence and courts of ethics and stuff like this, high crimes, and we have a lot of stuff to punish people. If it's a question of punishment, and like something has to be redressed, But ethics, as a thing, is just meant to help you and get you back on the bridge,
Yeah, and it needs a bit more common sense as well, because if they've got somebody who's like everyday shoplifting, for example, then obviously that's something more that you would, then you have to say, hold on, you're not going to shoplift again or whatever. But if you got one of these situations where they just get involved in things in people's private lives or whatever that are just like silly, kind of a waste of time, and that they don't have the right to say, you're not allowed to do this, it's just kind of silly. It's like, if the person's murdering babies on the weekend, obviously you say, don't bloody well, there's different degrees, but they feel like they have some sort of right, the HCO people, to be like these Nazis that like can just dictate people what to do. And I think that's overall a symptom of what's wrong with just the whole church in general, in that staff members of the church, except at missions, it seems to be staff members of the church, they seem to just think they have the right to just tell people, you do this course now, give me your money, and you do this in ethics now, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's just this too strict, controlling.
Yes, I think so, yes. This is what it became. It was never meant to be like that, I don't think, but it has evolved into this thing, I mean, ethics is a personal thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not for someone else to tell you what your ethics should be, what your ethical level should be. It's not for someone to indicate that to you and tell you what it is, It's a personal thing. It's what you want to take on. I accept this, I accept this, I accept this, I take full responsibility for accepting it, etc., It's like this.
But also it's kind of interesting because I was looking at HCO and that, and I was thinking, well, hold on, if Scientology does manage to clear the planet, it's just like, you're going to have to really make your HCO really, really, really big, because you only got a small amount of people at the org and they're getting kept busy. So imagine if your org actually does go Saint Hill, your HCO would be insanely busy. But there's a reason why you're not supposed to have that many staff members in HCO, is because HCO isn't supposed to be doing that much stuff. Like, they're just taking on far too much work and too much extra stuff, and it could be a lot easier and funner. But anyway, let's What are we going to go? Oh, I think things are improving anyway in the church. So, but with this group where you do auditing, you go by original tech by LRH, right? The original. Yeah. Yep. So you so it's just anything sort of written before 1983 or something like that?
Yes, basically yes. Yeah. Okay. Any references we have that we can apply, and usually it's smaller, like grades type processes and what have you. I'm not delivering any OT material or anything like that to anyone except myself. I
don't know if you.
It's mostly that people are coming in and they want something handling in their life specifically, So it's a kind of, I don't know, you might call it a review auditing or something like that, like where you actually take up what they tell you is wrong, you're not running a process like a bridge process
Yeah.
And you just go through that, and that's what you're going to go through. It's like he comes in and he says, "Oh, I've got this, it's this and it's this," and you just take what's reading and you clear that up, and that's it. And then he's feeling great again, and he's okay.
Like a mission.
Yeah.
Do you,
And
do you,
sorry,
I was
go
going
on.
to say, do you have any examples of somebody? Let's say I'm just trying to think of somebody who, I mean, because people who are in good shape should do Scientology as well, and because it's awesome. Like it works better on someone who's in better shape. But just as an example,
Right.
do you have an example of somebody who's come in, maybe who's like a drug addict or who's got like a really bad marriage or something like that, and you've managed to, or your group have managed to help them and actually solve that problem for them so they're better? Do you have any examples of that?
Yeah, we have many of that. We have very much drugs. Denmark is full of drugs. We have a lot of drug counseling, and then
So what? So can you give me an
it's
example? Like, can you tell the story? Like, what happened with like a person?
well, yeah, okay. We got one guy, and he didn't have a twin. So in the end, I was his twin. I said I'd be a twin. And so I went and I did it with him. I didn't take the vitamins and stuff. I just sat in the sauna with him and performed the action of the twin. And he came through it after. It wasn't a long time. It wasn't a very long one. I think it was 24 days or something like that. It wasn't a really, really long period. And he popped out of it, and then my idea then was always to push them onto more auditing, because the actions of getting people off drugs, like the knocking on program, by itself, it's okay. It gets them off drugs, yes. But then there's more to be done. There's drug rundown. There's other aspects that, if not handled, will eventually key in on them, And so I always try to press them to, would I be interested in doing a little bit more of this, going a little bit further, because we have a lot of other stuff we can do on the subject of drugs, why you take them, rehab releases and all this kind of thing, drug rundown, the survival rundown, as you said, it's a very good rundown. It's a very comprehensive handling for someone who's basically coming in off the street, It's very comprehensive. So after someone's gone through that rundown, I think they're above what is the average state in society. They're at a level that is above that, after that.
Yeah.
Really,
So if someone was a drug addict or was having they sort of had a problem that they wanted to get fixed, if they went into sort of an independent org or even a church org or whatever, would you feel like that person could like sort of definitely have that problem handled after like 6 months or something?
maybe not 6 months, because there's a lot of stuff all the way up to Ned, there's a Ned drug rundown, and that's where you're really going to get to the bottom of it, where you're really going to dig into the drug case for the first time, then there's, as you go to the OT levels, there's an OT drug rundown and what have you. But certainly Ned, the first rundown on Ned is drugs. Drugs are always handled first, yeah? So that's the first rundown of Ned. And after that, I think they're at a very stable point with drugs. I don't think drugs are a problem for them really anymore, that they're going to revert to drugs or something like that. I think they're well clear of it by then, Of course, we always have choice, which is senior to everything. They can always decide to go back to drugs, But they would be in a much less stimulative frame of mind, for that to happen.
Well, from what I can see with drug people, because I've sort of gained this ability a bit from Scientology. I can sort of just like like really feel what other people feel. Like it's kind of like be sensitive to how they feel or whatever's going on in them. Anyway, so they just seem to be people whose cases are just like charged up like a Christmas tree with sparkling diamonds and everything. Just the fanciest Christmas tree. Their case is just There's just totally, they've got all this stuff going on in their case, and they're keyed in like hell, and drugs give them a relief from that.
Yes.
So, so of course they're going to love these drugs and get hooked on them because the drugs are keying them out a little bit and making them feel good for once. But the thing is that if they just knew that there's spiritual technology out there that can work, that can key them out, and they don't have to take these drugs because drugs are, harmful and that sort of stuff. If they just knew that, then, it would be great. But,
Yeah, exactly. That would work. If you could get that idea out to everybody, that could be done,
Yeah.
And get them interested. You could do that on everyone that came in,
I mean,
No problem.
and with the effects of drugs anyway, it's just a little temporary high, and then after that, you're more keyed in than what you were when you began the drugs.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know anyway, but some people just really like them. But if they just, it's a symptom of the whole fact that spiritual technology in the world is being suppressed and hidden from the world. It's just being hidden from people. It's a full-on conspiracy that all this good spiritual cool stuff is just being squashed, and now you get people who really knows the definition of God? Who really knows like proper spiritual tech? It's all sort of like mysterious and like, oh, I don't really know, you know what I mean? Because there's a reason it's like that, you know what I mean? Because people over have for years, bad guys for years have been working to hide all this information from people, and these bad guys were the same people who were attacking Scientology when it started in the 50s. They were trying to squash it. They don't want people to know this cool information that actually helps them.
No, of course. It's the intelligence organizations and the strings and puppets attached to these kinds of branches and leaves, and what leads up from there. It's these type of groups who deal in suppression, and they don't want this. They don't want people to be off drugs. Yeah.
I
mean, it's not a coincidence that they're so heavily involved in the handling of the drug problem. I mean, you've got them guarding the poppy fields out there in Afghanistan. Do you really think the Americans are going to leave all those poppies out there? And no fucking way, they're not. They're not guarding them for the. Just burn them. If the idea is to get rid of them, woof. It's drop napalm on them. And have that burn the whole field off.
I mean, and
why are they guarding them? Why are they guarding them? What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do with them?
People can't believe how corrupt the world is. But
yeah, exactly.
Because it's like, I mean, because the way, like Big Pharma, for example, they don't want people to be doing something that stops them taking drugs. They want you to do their new drug called Xanax or their new drug called methadone, which are just these terrible drugs that they're giving out. But anyway, that's just the game they're playing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a very evil game, and it is connected. It is on a tentacle to this higher level of corruption and the operation of what's going on this planet. The actual suppression on this planet is not an accident. It is coming from somewhere.
Yeah, it's coming.
You know that, huh?
Yeah, it's coming from somewhere. Yeah, and I mean,
this is true.
I mean, I know people get touchy about vaccines and that sort of stuff, but it's just like there's so much evidence suggesting that there's something going on there really bad, and that they knew that it was brain damaging kids. They knew it. Right, this is where it's not an accident. It's not an accident.
Yeah.
They knew it, and then they would go and take it and sell it in a country, and it's like they're very. And this is also when this sort of stuff about what's really going on in the world. You know how hardcore it is, and then you walk into HCO ethics in the church, and they have a little bit of a go at you for like drinking too much red cordial or something, just something so ridiculous, and you're like, hey, I know what an actual overt is, okay? And there's people going out there doing some horrific stuff, and you're in here wasting your time picking on someone for their red cordial. Like, it's
Yeah.
so stupid. You realize that, but they don't really know that because they're busy trapped into the church, and they know things are corrupt. They don't really know how corrupt, because if they really confronted and found out how corrupt things were, they would probably stop on their post and go, hold on, maybe I'm just being a bit too strict on this post because I now know what an overt actually is, you know?
This is the thing. This is the thing. I think that's the point of it. If you could get these people, because most of the people, the vast majority of the people involved are good people. They're wanting good things. They're wanting spiritual freedom, and they're wanting others to have it. You know, I see this in the Sea Org especially. They're really wanting others to have it, and it's just such a shame that they're being betrayed this way. You know, I really feel bad about that. You know. I feel they're really being betrayed, you know. Like you say, going to the office, I discuss the cordial, you know. This is water, by the way, but, you know, whatever cordial you drink, you know, it's just ridiculous, you know, to spend that amount of time on something like that, you know.
Yep.
When you look at what's happening across the world, the bombings and the, you know, without even declarations of war, just zoom in there and bombing, and you know, it's all part of this. We could say a new world order. That's this seems to be the popular word for it, and it's a good enough term for me. It gives the idea of it. It is a complex, you know. It is a military-industrial complex of control. And the idea is to control the society as strictly as possible without them having the idea that they're being controlled. So they actually run it on themselves.
Yeah.
And there's very little, and there's not much has to be done, you know.
I've actually spent some personal time with one of these beings who are like one of these controlling type, enslaver type beings. And they're not too different besides you and me or anyone. But the big difference in them is just that they just enjoy screwing people over. They enjoy being pricks. That's just their personality. That's literally how they are. So they love the idea of just running a company and selling people crap. They enjoy that, you know. They love the idea of starting a war and watching all these people fight and then sit back and then laugh at watching them fight. Like, they're just little smartasses, but they're not. I don't think that they're these really, really unusual things. They're just a normal person, except they've got this one bizarre part of their personality in that they just really hate people and they just enjoy and laugh, and their only fun they get in life is just squashing people and suppressing them and putting them down, and they're just little buggers, basically. And we need to you need to know who they are, what their traits are, and that's where you do the SP. What is that? The PDSSP course. You know what their traits are, and then you can handle them, and then you can lock them up, and that's just the solution on them. They're really quite ridiculous. Really.
Yes, and they need to be removed, you know, and this is the thing. But when you look at how far back this goes, it goes back very, very far, you know. Yeah. And that's how they've come to this stage of power where they are now. It didn't just happen over a few years, you know. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of years of building this structure, you know, which is what we call the world.
Yeah.
And in the West, what we call the free world, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, the earth has been pretty corrupted for, like, at least till back into Jesus' times, because it seemed like he was walking around going, who the hell are these Pharisees, these scribes, these priests? Who the hell are they? They're not even spiritual. He was like having a go at them, saying, you know, you're just like using your members of the church, and you're not really helping them get into heaven. And he was like criticizing them, and he was pissing them off, basically. And he was preaching in Jerusalem or whatever. And then, of course, they, instead of taking his advice and trying to improve their church and making him the leader of their church or whatever, they were just like, who's this prick Jesus that's going around being rebellious, telling everyone that, like, having a go at us and stuff and proving us to be wrong. And so then they just arranged that he gets assassinated, pretty much. That's pretty much what happened.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly. It's
they
like
took him
it's like
out.
this guy has to be dealt with, and he has to be dealt with in a covert fashion, so it doesn't look like we dealt with him.
No, yeah,
And
exactly. But yeah,
they pushed him into the hands of the Romans so that they would
yes,
actually do the nailing.
yeah,
I mean, it didn't totally wash because there was
yeah.
people who were there to witness what actually happened.
Because he was a popular person, so they couldn't just come out and just kill him, because then the people wouldn't like the priest at that time.
No,
But the priests were walking around, probably eating nice food and eating, like, wearing nice robes, the same as the elite do these days, and they walk around like, we're better than everything else, we've got everything perfect, and they're just controlling and dominating people, and they didn't like Jesus, so they took him out. But it was a very similar thing that I think what happened with Hubbard's life, because he was going around improving things, trying to help people and giving people the truth about the world, and the bad guys were just like, who the hell is this guy, like straight away psychiatry hated how L. Ron Hubbard was saying that electric shock is bad and all this other stuff. They're like, who the hell is this guy? And then they worked to try and take him out or get him out of control of the church. And it's just the same thing,
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to come to next. You just said it. that is it. There's a very close comparison there with LOH and his experiences with setting up the church and the beginning phases, and also the fact that he had a military background in the Navy, but it's still a military background, intelligence and all of this kind of thing. He did know quite a bit of stuff, he was writing all this MK Ultra stuff down long before anybody knew anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. They were way ahead of their time.
He had
way
that
ahead.
stuff,
Yeah, he was so ahead of his times. He was like the
Yeah.
Alex Jones of like the 50s or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he was so.
Yeah.
He was just totally knew what was going on. But that's another thing as well, because some people have a go at LRH for writing some of the OSA policies and the Guardian's Office policies and that sort of stuff. But that's because that's coming from like a point of view in that you don't know how corrupt the world is. Like if you knew really how bad things were, how hardcore bad they were, you would understand why LRH had to come up with his own intelligence organization, because everyone else is doing it and everyone else is keeping it secret and doing all this dodgy stuff. And if you don't do that, then your church is just going to get flushed down the toilet, basically. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with, OSA and all that sort of stuff, but I do understand how it developed and that sort of stuff, because it's just something that's not spoken about, but there's so much dodgy secret intelligence stuff going on in this world that if you don't do it, if you don't cheat in the game, then everyone else is cheating and you're going to get screwed over. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. It's
like, of course, LOH was on the fringes of the intelligence community. He was, He's not only his work at MIT. I mean, there's the Russians asked him to work for them, promised him all the luxuries and what have you. Come to the Soviet Union, work for us and what have you, because the Americans don't want you, but we'll have you. Find out we want to know what you know about the mind. Obviously they were wanting it for suppressive purposes. They wanted it for control. The purpose was control with them. Again, not to set people free, but a better way to control them. And he had a right to defend himself, in a situation like that. I think I can see that. I can see you would have had a right to defend yourself, and some kind of organ where you could find out knowledge, information, etc., as to how bad it was and what we were actually facing. And I think that's probably where he found out how actually bad things were.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff in that period of time, he found out how bad things actually really were. When he comes up, I think it was 12 men, was it, that are controlling the planet and all of this.
Yeah.
This is coming out very popular now.
Yeah.
But this was out decades ago. LOH wrote this decades ago,
Yeah.
And he knew the people. It was the Rockefellers, and he knew these people. He knew it was these people,
Yeah, he was 50 years. He was 50 years ahead of his time, and it's like, because you get the Scientology haters, they have a go at the church, and it's like, hold on a second. Do you really have any idea how bad things are in this world? Do you really know? Because if you did, you wouldn't waste your time handling a sort of corrupt church. Like, it's no way, like, there's so much worse stuff going on. And that's why the indie movement's good, because, I mean, you don't really get many indies that are, like, out there to really attack the church. They're not really doing that. You know what I mean? They
No,
because a lot of them are
exactly.
reasonable about it and just go, look, yeah, the church is sort of corrupted, and we want the church to get better and improve, but we're not going to go around just hating on the church all the time. We're going to focus on the positive and do our own thing, and grow our own movement and that sort of stuff. But the haters are just like stuck on the church, and it's just like, you don't really know what's going on in the world, basically.
Yes, yes. They just need the very simple handling on that, the bypass charge they have on the church, basically to stop them being
Yeah.
haters of it. Of course, there's the people who've never been in the church and know nothing about it, and only are haters because of what they see on TV and the papers and all the rest of it. And Scientology is bad, and that's the key word they're using. Anything to do with Scientology, whoa, stay away. Keep back. Keep back. It's you'll be brainwashed and all of this stuff. But I mean, this idea of the hole and putting people in the hole and this kind of thing, this for me is outside the field of what a religion does. This is not a religion. A religion doesn't do stuff like that. I mean, I'm seeing it doesn't. Religions have in the past. All of the major religions have. I mean, maybe possibly the exception of Buddhism, but even Buddhism had its clashes. But now, usually religions have gone through phases where they have had suppressive actions that they've done themselves on the people around them, The Catholic Church and all of these other churches that have risen to be the great churches didn't get there by being totally nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's putting it mildly, but I'm trying to be sweet.
Yeah.
That's basically how I see it, and brings me back to this thing that LOH must have known that when the leader of a religion goes, it tends to fall into a kind of anarchy. Unless somebody's waiting there to scoop it up in a kind of coup d'etat. This was like a bloodless coup almost. We used to see all these people coming out on the stage at, in the IES events and stuff like this. You don't see them so much anymore.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, you just see David.
Yeah.
Just David, and that's it.
Little Dave, it's kind of it is kind of funny when you think of it, but it's not funny because it's ruining something that was really workable and really could be very, very good for people. It's ruining it. And why? I'd like to get to the why. Why would someone want to do that? Why would someone want to mess something up so badly? I mean, okay, it didn't function greatly, I mean, I can see a lot of cross orders and things that I've experienced from the past, that looked to be, to me, a bit messy, where I would just have cut through the lot and said, boom, there it is, do that, and not messed around so much, and I don't know.
With
I think the future bodes better for us, shall I say? Looks better. The future's looking better.
I think, yeah, definitely. I think, I reckon, everything's looking better, and it'll be interesting, what happens when David Miscavige leaves and that sort of stuff. But anyway, with your, I'm interested in how, let's say you got an indie, right? You're an indie. Independent. How do you get that? Like, I mean, I don't know. Say whatever you want to say. This is a bit of a controversial question, but how do you get the higher level tech, the tech that's that's locked up secretly in the church? How do you sort of get that?
Well, I have a contact who has already gotten it and ran it, and I'm getting it through him. Obviously, I'm not going to say who it is, but it is there, and I
And
have run some of it, and it is working.
you
So
can trust it. You can trust that it's not like something that someone's just made up and said, yeah, this is the OT levels or whatever.
yeah, because that simply wouldn't work. Once you get on the meter and once you're looking at that stuff, if it's bullshit, you soon see it's bullshit. You will see that it'll show up. As this is nothing. What is this?
So you have
But
access. You have access to the policies that are needed, and the lectures that are needed to do the OT levels.
to everything, yeah, up to 8. The L's, everything actually.
Do you believe that that there's 9 OT 9, 10, and 11 that sort of stuff that they were ever written, or what do you reckon happened to them?
I don't know, because if they've got some 8s, then why not start with 9? Put out a 9. Let's see 9. This is the thing. It seems to have halted at 8. Okay, there's 8 dynamics. It's halted at 8. It seems to be bogged there. And it's like the purpose now is to keep people on 7 as long as possible. And then when they cannot be squeezed anymore, when it's impossible to squeeze any more out of them, bump them onto 8. It's always reminded me of, it's harder for a rich man to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for him to enter the kingdom of heaven. It's like almost like they have to strip you of all your wealth before you're spiritually acceptable.
That's a nice spin on it. That's a positive spin on it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like this kind of thing. But I don't know. It seems to be now just, I got one of these the other day. I've got it here. It's the first one I've had for a long time. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very long time since I've had a letter from them. And suddenly I get one this week. So I don't know. It shows the still interest. Because as far as I know, I'm still in good standing. I didn't leave with any massive overts, anything like that. There's nothing I wouldn't tell them if they came and asked me, put it that way, But it's just that I cannot go along with an organization that does those kinds of things that we've discussed, the forced connections, the chucking people in a hole, and stuff like this, imprisoning people, it's just not what a religion does for me, A religion, that's why I personally, I always think of it as a philosophy. The religion thing doesn't sit well. And one thing that really freaked me out when I first went to an advanced org, to an IS meeting, this huge getting up of people and clapping and this huge adoration thing, I thought, whoa, this is not what he would have wanted, this was, he said the same about Buddha. Buddha was a man. He always said he was a man. And LOH always said he was just a man. So it's not like he should be adored and worshipped like a god. I have tremendous respect for him. And he's turned out a tremendous amount of data that is fantastic stuff that you would never come across. You would never think it up in 100 years, just sitting there scribbling away on notepads thinking, I wonder if this will work, And I've tried most things, Andy, I tell you, I've been around the world as well. I've been all over the world, So I followed in his footsteps, basically. I got down into the nitty-gritty of life and looked at it, And then I got the training and what have you, and the knowledge to push myself up and out of it. And I do feel out of it. I really do feel out of it right now,
What do you feel out of what? What do you mean?
Out of spiritually. Spiritually, I feel free.
So you've achieved nirvana?
At least, yeah. I would say at least nirvana, yeah.
Yeah,
I would say like...
You're clear.
I would probably...
Yeah, you're clear.
Yeah. I'd say I'm at least where Buddha was,
So
I have an inner peace within me, which really is very, very hard for anyone to tear up or dig away, to dig at,
Would you consider that the clear, or would you say that's more than clear?
I would say it's slightly more than clear. I mean, I am passed on from clear now. I moved on from clear, you know. But clear was the state where I thought this is a permanent state, like he says, you know. And I remember RTC. I think we've got a theatre clear, a clear theatre clear here, you know. And I'm thinking, whoa, do you think I'm a theatre clear? Yeah, and they say, yeah. Have a look at his file, you know. Have a look at his auditing reports, you know. Have a look at what he's saying on the CCRD, the stuff he said on the CCRD. Have a look at that, you know. We think we've got a really good one here, you know. And this was at a time when they were checking a lot of files and a lot of people who were clear, and they came back not clear, and they said, sorry, you're not clear, you know. You haven't, you know, gone through. You haven't demonstrated that you're clear. You haven't given the AP with the FN and everything, and and gone through all the steps of the CCRD that you would go through that would acknowledge, boom. So it was good enough for them. I mean, not that it has to be good enough for them. It doesn't, you know. If I know that I've reached that state, then I've reached it. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. But obviously, from a technical point of view, you need to know where the person is. If you're going to help him, you need to know where he is. Is he there or is he not, you know? If he's not, then okay, it's a horrible thing to have to tell him, but, you know, you can't put him on the OT levels and expect him to get anything except crushed, you know? If he's not clear, you know? If his grades are all fully in and he's clear, he's netted, you know?
Hey, what do you say to the people who these haters who say no one's ever really achieved clear? What do you say about that?
Well, I've got a couple of viewpoints. It's really that it's just a name. It's a name of a state on a bridge. And if a person achieves any state, that's great. They've achieved that state, you know, and they know they've achieved it. And that's the bread and butter of it. That's what really counts, that they know themselves that it's happened, not that they're being told it's happened to them. And they say, oh, okay, you know, but they know it's happened, you know, and it's real. And that's the difference. That's what makes the difference. You know it's real, and then you know it works, and you're much more decent then, you know, and you're much more unlikely to slide on the banana skin, should we say? You know.
And I think it's look, I think if you don't get really good auditing, then you can achieve a release, a state of release, where you sort of think you're going clear, but you actually just release and you're feeling better, and then you probably, I guess, go on and you live your life and you're just sort of a normal person, but you're not really in this state of sort of clear. So I just think these haters, they think that they're, you know, like they don't realize that some people, you know, do get good auditing, do really achieve the state of clear. They do really achieve it, and it can be achieved.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm certain of that. Of that, I'm absolutely sure, you know. And it's a different thing to a release. You will know it from a release, you know. Yeah, I'm sure you've had releases, and the difference between a release and going clear is a totally different phenomenon. It's a big thing, you know. It's not something you would mix up. Once you've had some releases, you would not mix it up with a release, you know. You think, oops, it's a release, you know.
Yeah.
You know. But any release is valid. Any release is a valid release, and it's good. It's a step up, you know. The guy's getting better, and he's moving. If he's moving on the bridge, or if he's just going in for, you know, he has something up and he wants it handled, and he wants something specifically handled. Like in the church, they would slam you on the communication course no matter what you said, you know, and you would be on the bridge, and you would be expected to go up the bridge, and at some point on that bridge, hopefully your ruin, or the thing that was the ruin for you, that was bothering you, would get handled at some point, you know, some indeterminate point. Or you could just address that thing directly as soon as he came in the room, as soon as he came in the office, you know. You would blurt out what it was, I'd give them the cans, see what's reading, boop, 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 underline them, and then make a program for that, and just order that stuff out, I mean, a good life repair is a damn good step, A life repair, SRD, puts a person in great shape, and a good ethics handling, and so he knows the PTS stuff and the dynamics and all of this and how this works and how they would function together, and so he can plan his life out, and he's maybe never thought about planning his life out before, really, and just kind of drifting through it, But no, it's not the case with everyone. But some people will just be drifting, and it's there's much more to be learned, It's a question of, do you want to learn it,
Hey, what about past life memories, the accuracy of them? Because I'm sure that some of them are just made up or dubbing or something, but it seems like some people really do have access real memories and stuff. What do you think about that?
I think that's totally true. I've many. I mean, I've just achieved the ability to confront the whole track. So it's okay to look at anything, because I mean, most of it is free track. By free track, I mean there's no incidents on it. There's no aberration on it. So it's like you can instantly recall an incident, a picture. You can go so far back to wherever you want to go and pick that. And you've had enough experience of it being real that it's real. It's a real thing you're looking at. It's not something you've mocked up or you've thought about or you're dreaming about or you've made up or someone's told you or you've heard about or something like this. It's within you. It's like many people. One of the thing of the great sages, they always say the power is within you. And to a great extent, that's true. It is there. It's in you. And I remember LRH. One of his quotes was, someone had asked him, "What are you trying to teach people in Scientology?" And he said, "We're not trying to teach people anything at all. All we're trying to do is get them to remember what they already know."
Yeah.
And I think that's a bloody good way of explaining it, because it is all there. It's all there and available to be recalled, It's just a question of being put on the right path and guided, which LOH has done a damn good job of with that. And I like that, I like to run people on the bridge, as a bridge, That's how I like to do it,
Yeah.
Ideally. That's my ideal scene,
I think there's a guy called Stephen Fishman, and he's got this video you can listen to on YouTube. It goes for 3 hours, right? It's called The Strange Case of Stephen Fishman. It is It's very interesting to listen to. It's very entertaining and interesting. But he was an SP. He was type 3, and he talks about some of his past life memories. And the shit that comes out of his mouth is just, what the hell? But I think he would definitely be an example of dubbing.
Massive dubbing and type 3 is what I got from Fishman. I saw that. I did watch that one. I've seen that one.
Yeah. And because I read his book called Lonesome Squirrel, and just it's an entertaining book. Again, it's entertaining, but it's just you can't trust anything that comes out of his mouth. Because he says some things that are true and some things that are just crap, and just like, oh my god, he's very one-one and shifty.
It's a little bit odd.
And he says like sort of one-one-y things that try and confuse the person who's listening. It's entertaining, but just be careful if you're gonna listen to it.
Exactly.
But
I mean, everyone's got little faults. For instance, I'm a terrible typer. When I type something and it's coming over to someone, often it's not coming over very well because I'm a terrible typist, and that's all it is. Most of what I've been doing, I'm doing with a pen. I'm writing session reports with a pen. I'm not using a computer in that sense. Although I have started Skype auditing. which is very good.
Well,
That's a recent
yeah.
thing. That's a new thing with the theta meter. You know the theta meter.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, Mikhail Fedorov's design. It's actually that's good. I think that's a good way of reaching people who are far away but want auditing. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a whole other thing. Like morally, I don't know if I agree with it and all that sort of stuff. But
Huh.
who it's, anyone who's trying to do Scientology and whatever is good basically, and we should all be friends and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And support each other and say our opinions, but not like fight or whatever. It's just silly. That's exactly what OSA want the independents to do. They want them to all be fighting and hating each other, and someone saying this about someone else and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, they want us to waste our energies arguing with each other, but
Yeah, we're just not going to do it. I call it the real new age. That's
oh,
what I
yeah.
call it personally. The real new age. You know.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So I think when it comes to these past life memories, I think there are some people who have a lot of dub-in and that sort of stuff, and it gives it a bad name. It gives past life a bad name.
For sure.
But
For sure.
that doesn't mean that these memories aren't real or anything. It's just that I think there's definitely got to be truth to this past life stuff. There's a lot of evidence that indicates it and that sort of stuff. When you left, how did you leave the Church of Scientology? Tell me how that happened.
I simply walked away. I got to where was I? I was on eligibility, and what they wanted was 5 intensives. They wanted me to pay 5 intensives like that for eligibility, and I just said no, absolutely not. No, I've just done 2 FPRD lists. You know,
2 of them.
I'm pretty bloody clean. You know, I've done the first and the second dynamic ones. You know, I said if you want to start 5 intensives worth of sec checking and buggering around like that, you can piss off. You know, I'm afraid that's where we are with it. You know, I'm sorry, but that is where we are with it.
Just out of
And
curiosity, because were you doing some things in your life that they disagreed with, like ethics wise, and that's why they were like trying to get you to do all these sec checks and stuff?
No, but they knew I had in the past because all the things come out in auditing. All comes out, huh? Yeah, in your rudiments, you know, session after session. Once you've had a few thousand sessions or a few hundred sessions, anyway, you know, you got quite a lot of material there. Someone who wants to look through it, just pick through the overheads, you know. They can pick a lot of things that a person might have done in his life that they can make a tailor-made sec check out of, for instance, you know, and really delve into it and make a big deal out of something that really for the person is handled, you know. It's already handled. He's done it. He's dealt with it, you know.
So even though you've done grade 2 and said heaps of overts in grade 2, you've done the flying of the ruse, you've said heaps of overts in session, you've done what, sec checks before, you've done
loads of sec checks.
You've done FPRDs, you've done all that, and you're ready to go OT, and they just say to you, give us your money, you need to do heaps more hours on your overts. And it's just like, when the hell am I clean from overts? You know what I mean?
It's very, very much that. It's very, very much that. That was the feeling I got from it, and I thought, no, I'm not having that because I'm not in that condition, you know. That is not my condition to have that kind of handling, you know.
This is again.
I'm ready to go, you know. I'm ready to go right now, you know. At that time, that's what I was saying to myself. I'm ready to go right now for the eligibility thing. As far as I'm concerned, I'll do an OW right up and let's get on with it. Let's get on with the rest of the bridge.
This is why it does seem like the church has been taken over by the bad guys, because they're not releasing the higher OT levels above OT8. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're,
positive gain. Yeah.
And maybe they don't have them, but they're not releasing them. They're like sticking people on these sec checks for ages. They're not really advertising correctly Div 6 to get people into the orgs. In the 80s, they destroyed the whole mission network in the 80s. And it's just like, you know, I don't know, it's just like, it seems like it's like, yeah, let's keep Scientology there so the people who are interested in it can come into the church and we'll just take their money and will waste their time for years and years and years and years, and they'll never know that we're running this organization so they can never get free. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Because it's like they don't know what to give them next. You see, once they're at 8, they don't know what to give them next. That's the feeling I get. They don't have anything to give them next. You know, so it's like where they're going to go from there. And like you say, I don't know, the churches, they're seeming emptier and emptier all the time. People are just not going. You know, they're opening all these new buildings, but they're not full with people. You know.
Hey, what about in Copenhagen? How was the AO there with the amount of people going there?
The amount of people has fallen off. Well, I mean, from the time I was there, we did have a tremendous amount of Hungarians. The Hungarian people had just opened up to Scientology, and they said there was this. I don't know what policy they used, but they did found a policy that they used so that they could send huge amounts of people on training. You know, we had many people there from Hungary. You know, I mean, let me see, it must have been 30 or something. You know, from Hungary on training. You know, which is very good, very good result to get them all there like that. But it did come out that they put the stamp on that eventually. No, that policy you can't apply. These people need to go home. And they sent them back. And I thought, you know, they're here. Just let's continue, you know. What's the big problem, you know? Well, what's the big problem? They're winning. You know, we're making auditors. They want to do it. They're very enthusiastic. I mean, it's like, you know, LOH says you only need one thing to help someone, and that's his cooperation. We already had their cooperation, you know. It was right there. They wanted to do it, you know.
Hey, so let's say when were you last in the AO, for example, in Copenhagen? What year was that when you were last there?
Oh, let me see. Where are we now? 2017. Must have been 2014.
Okay, and how many people would be in the objectives course room, for example, if you walked in there on a normal day?
Well, I never actually did, but the courtyard was noticeably less full than it usually was, than I was used to seeing it. That would maybe just have happened the time I went in. I don't know. Like I say, I've got nothing against the church. I'm not trying to slag them off anything else. Say, oh, it's all bad over there. I'm not saying that at all, you know. There's still some good stuff being done, you know, and there's some good people who are trying against, you know, sometimes superhuman odds, you know, to get their product and get their thing done, you know, what they've been put on to do, you know, because they have this mindset of the church, and it must be this way, you know, and they're doing that. And okay, people are being helped still, you know. It's not a question of it's absolutely totally screwed and nobody's getting any help, you know. But it has just seemed to have noticeably dropped off for me.
Well, was the org, did the org look full, half full? What did it sort of look like?
Half, I would say, from what it was when I was there. I would say about half.
Okay.
Because I was looking up from the courtyard at the course rooms, and I remember we used to be stacked in there, you know. We used to be really full to the rafters, you know. And, it just didn't seem like that, you know. I saw a lot of space there, and I don't know, maybe they changed the course rooms around or something like this. I wasn't particularly checking them out, you know. I was just went in there for a cup of coffee, you know, chat.
So when you so you decided, because they ordered all these sort of sec checks on your OT eligibility, you decided to leave, right? But like, how'd that come about? Like, did you think, oh, this church is full of crap, I'm leaving and join the independents? Like, how did that happen?
Well, it was a three-way split. It was like, yes, I want to have a look at the independent stuff, first of all, why should I not be able to look at something? And LOH was all about looking, look, So I thought, I want to look. I want to look at that, So I looked. I looked. That is my free will, and I will have that, So I looked, and what else was it? The disconnection business with the policies and the stuff that was coming out of the breakups of the families and how extensive it was, and how this policy was being used at that time to really clean out the church, of what DM would call undesirables to him, they would have been people who were, I mean, I don't know if you've heard about this thing where he slapped around Marty Rathbun. He slapped him a couple of times, I mean, Marty Rathbun is a huge guy. He would have torn him to shreds, had it happened outside, he would have just bit his head off, and threw the rest away, It just shows you how much people will put up with to stay there, And it was also said that. Let me locate who said that again. Jason Bear, I think it was, that if someone came round investigating, saying, don't you hate these horrible conditions in this hole, with the ants and no food and scraps and all the rest of it? And he said he thought that 99% of them would get up and say, no, we're here of our own free will. We want to do this.
Yeah.
When if you had actually seen what it was, you wouldn't have said, hey, I want to do this. This is not, once again, it comes down to, this is not what a religion does, for me. It's not.
Hey, just to define the hole, it wasn't actually a hole in the ground. It was an office building, right? And it was getting used as kind of like a little prison.
Yes,
staff members were forced to stay in there and do harsh ethics. It's basically HCO taken to their millionth degree.
Yes, in these two concrete roof, corrugated roofed buildings, I saw them. Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah,
and people locked in there sometimes for months and months.
Yeah.
And Dave would come in and have these strange parties, We'd whack them around and they'd run around chairs and stuff like this. Yeah. And virtually beg to stay in, I don't know how true that is. Of course, something I've heard from people, but I personally find that hard to imagine. I'd have to see that to believe it, Because I would think, God, if someone had me in that position, I would long past the point where I said, no. Oh, no, this is, come on,
Yeah, it's too much, and it's just way hardcore ethics.
Yeah.
But I mean, LRH, apparently when LRH was on the ship, though, if there was someone who played up and he put them into like some chain locker or something and just put them in a locker for like a day or two. But that wasn't like, I don't know, I don't think that's as bad. Like, I don't think it's as, I mean, it's kind of like sending a kid to his room and telling him off and saying you're staying in here for a day or whatever. I don't know all the details on that, but also that apparently on the ship there was this punishment that was the overboarding thing.
Yes.
But also that's nowhere near. That's not locking someone up for months and months and months, and it's also jumping off a ship into water. I don't know. I feel like that's more of a confront thing. That's more of a like, come on, wake up, harden up.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
It's not like the end. It's not the end of the world. It's not like torture. Huh?
Yeah, I kind of wouldn't mind. I know it says I wouldn't mind getting overboarded. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of It's not. There's a difference. Like yes, I think it was hardcore, and I think LRH was probably wrong to do it, but it was not like what an SP does. It wasn't like. No. It wasn't like what David Miscavige is, where they go in there and they're like sadistic and they enjoy harming people and they lock them up for months. There's a big difference. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just silly. It's just really silly. So someone like David Miscavige comes along, he sees one or two questionable things that LRH did, and he justifies his outrageous behaviour by these sort of questionable things that LRH did. And it's just a classic thing that low-toned SP people do. They just blow things out of the water, They just do crazy shit.
Yes. He kind of expanded on the idea of locking the little guy in the locker, the little boy in the locker for a couple of days, and it was explained to him, what have you, and put in, and I'm sure if he'd been in terrible trouble, they would have taken him out, and if he got sick or something, they would have taken him out, taken care of him. And also jumping overboard from a ship. Hey, what's that? That's okay. I could take that. If I'd done something seriously wrong and I thought that'd wash my ears out, I'd jump in there.
And also when you think about these bad guys who I think took over the church, what they want to do is they want cults to have a bad name, or like they want to create cults, so they want religions to have a bad name or whatever. And they want to dirty their opposition or whatever, whoever's challenging them. So let's say Scientology was challenging them, so then they infiltrate the organization and they really screw things up and really make them do wild shit, so that then the organization's really screwed up, and then there's news reports about it, and you get to a point to like today where the average person's like, I don't want to have anything to do with them, they're a crazy cult. And it's like, well, there's a lot more going on, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I get the point. Because this the David Miscavige way of controlling the church and what's going on in it is just, it doesn't. I mean, if it was working, then you could say, okay, it's working. So if it's working, it's got to be something good. There's got to be something good in it, But it just doesn't seem to be working. It seems to be dropping off, and it's very.
That's what it's designed. Yeah. That's how they're running it. But and this is what Captain Bill was saying, because Captain Bill, if you read some of his stuff, he was saying how he noticed, because it wasn't just David Miscavige. Like, yes, he's the most strongest one. He's the one who took the leadership role. But it seems like there's other bad guys that were there secretly around the scenes. These one-oney dudes that were making these things happen, and Captain Bill was spotting them out and going, "Who the hell's this guy? This guy's a bad guy. He's really no good." And so then, they secretly do all these dodgy things, and that's why shit went wild in California in the desert and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think so also. I think DM is not the top of the cake. I think there's others behind him who have put him in that position, and it's a very powerful position. He can do basically what he wants, but I think it has been an orchestrated thing with a lot of people quite a few people in the background who are real SPs, hardcore SPs, who are saying we're going to destroy this church, and they basically have.
They've
basically done it.
They made the church a big stop. Like, people don't get the freedom that they will, and they get heaps of their money taken.
Yeah, to build buildings. I mean, it's normal for a church to take money from its parishioners. Huh? This has happened in all churches. All churches take money in some form from the parishioners, but it's usually to help the parishioners. In this case, it's not helping the parishioners. It's not going to the public. It's not even going to the CEO salary. It's going to buy new buildings somewhere, and a new building somewhere else. That is not going to be full of people anyway. And it just seems like a property organization, an organization that's acquiring heaps of property all over the planet for the reason is yet to be discovered. What would you want that much property for when it's not being, like you say, the Div 6 is not being pushed the way it should. It's not reaching out for new people. It's not pulling new people in the way it used to,
Yeah, it's not. I know it is, because I would see when I was involved with it, they would do things like they would pull staff members out of Div 6 and put them into Div 2 to hardcore reg people. And I could see how they were advertising, and the advertising is all sort of targeted into Div 2 and stuff, and they weren't really doing a promotion Div 6 thing, so it's very, very, dodgy and questionable.
Yes, those two are very easy to cross over. You see, Div 6 and dissemination, Div 2. They're very easy to sort of
still
wind up, from, tie up, and wire. Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
when I was involved with the church, even though I was still a believer in the church, when I was starting to notice things were not quite right, was when they were building the advanced org. and I remember them regging me for money like hardcore.
Yeah.
And I remember, and they were saying, "We got to do it now." You know, this whole "got to do it now, now," and it's just like, and then when you leave and you find out the truth of the situation, where that they have plenty of money, and that there is no rush, like,
Yes.
like, like if you want to get the planet clear, then let's get some staff into Div 6 and promote Div 6 properly. Like that's how you rush things up if you want to. But like, I'm just thinking, like, I was just thinking, what the, like, this is just. I was just thinking, yeah, this is just more shit that they're saying. Where like we have to do it now. We have to get this AO now. And it's just like,
Mm.
like, oh, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh yeah, we're not going to make it. The whole world's going to end if we don't get the AO now. And yet they have the money. They already have the money for it. They could already afford
Of
it.
course.
You know what I mean?
Of
Like
course.
they could go and sell
Of
some other.
course.
They could
Yeah.
go sell some other building that they don't need, that they're not using, and they could use that to build the AO. Yet they trick the members. And because the members don't get the information off the internet, the members are tricked and actually thinking, shit, we've got to get this AO to clear the planet, and we have to do it now. And it's just these ridiculous targets,
Yes. Yeah. It's like a continuous wedging cycle.
It's like, yeah, and it's like...
Every time you step in the door, someone's on there trying to wedge you for something. To buy something, sell something, And, you've been into it for years. You've got all the materials. What they're going to sell you the same stuff again and again and again and again and again, Okay, slightly altered maybe, a word missing here, a word missing there. Alteration of tech, There's serious things, there's serious offences, that will really, they will mess up. That's what will be the downfall of the church in the end. The inability to deliver really standard tech to people, I think that's where it'll go. People will just simply not show up anymore.
Yeah,
because they can go there.
And like LRH says, give high targets, but there's a difference between giving someone a tough, challenging target and then a target that's just totally unrealistic and ridiculous. Like some of the shit that they would do, like the soups. I remember a soup would come up to me. And she was a bit aberrated, I think, and she would like, you just start studying something, and she'd just flick to and go, yeah, you get done today, like, and it's just like, it's so ridiculous. It's just like, are you serious? Like, that's not, like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, don't give me an utterly, giving someone such a ridiculous target like that is like almost, you might as well not give them a target at all. Like, it's just a joke. Yeah. And it's the same thing that they do with the buildings. Like they say, we're going to get the building open now, and they set a huge target for it, and they never make that target. And then 3 months before it, they extend the target a bit longer, and then the one they extended it to is again a really extreme target still, and they manage to get it done in time, but it's just so rushed, and it's just like, hey, why don't you just wait 2 more months? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like all you have to do is wait 2 more months. You know what I mean? Like otherwise, like. It's just silly, Like everyone's rushing around, trying to get this ideal org open at this date, and they're all PTS to time. It makes you PTS to time. That's what it does. Oh, time. Yeah. Oh no, time. We don't have time. It's just like, it's silly.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's like the whole thing is driven into like high gear operation. When other people are living normal lives, and this is totally weird to them that it should come like this, Yeah. It's not. They can't really have it, They can't really have it. It's like, okay, if you're a millionaire, okay, you can throw them a few $1,000s here and there, But what are they going to do? Are they going to end up with just processing millionaires in the end? Because they push the prices up so high that once people get to the upper levels, they can't really move any further, And even if they make it to 8, we don't see any sign of 9 or anything above that. We don't see it. Where in the independent field, there's different bridges and different where there are higher levels and other levels, but I think it's stuff David Mayo and Captain Bill have, also Filbert and Clearbird stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff out there, technology out there that is workable, and you can just download it and use it, If you know what to do, if you know how to audit, you could do it. You could do that.
So in the independent field, uh, you know, what do you think of OT 9, 10, and 11 and 12? You know, can someone actually get them?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a way. I think it's probably. This is only my personal opinion, but I think it's probably a lot of space opera. A lot of to do with battles in space and stuff like this, and part of Captain Bill's kind of bridge, which is all valid stuff. It's already there, but like I think LOH already says. You can always find more drugs to run on the track. It's also the true case you can always find more space opera to run on the track. Also, you can always dig some of that up. It's like how far do you want to take it? Okay, it's there, good, boom. Case wise, it's gone. So why do you need to dig into some more? It's okay, and it's. If it really finishes the product and finishes the product off and has a purpose to really polish a product off and finish it, then it's good. And I'm totally for that, But I'm not actually aware of what it is. So I can't say more than that, because I just don't know more than that. I haven't looked at the high levels, 12, 13, 14, and etc.
Do you think...
The material, I mean,
Do you think LIH actually wrote up like OT 9, 10, 11, and 12, and they're available somewhere in the independent field?
I think it's possible, yes. I think it's possible that stuff is available or is arranged in an order that he could put the positive gain tech out, but keep it outside of the church. He may even have succeeded in doing that. So they're stuck with 8. They can't go any further. But here, the material is existing. And when it's needed, it will come, it will appear for the person to do that level,
Well, I think in 1977 when he did his tech correction roundup, which was actually GAT1, actual proper tech correcting roundup, so that's why GAT1 and GAT2 are kind of questionable, because it's like, hey, he did a tech correction roundup in 1977. Anyway, I think he said in that, if you orgs do a good job, I'll give you these upper levels, I'll release them. And he's talking about, I think, OT 8, 9, 10, or 11 or whatever.
Yes.
And then in the next few years, he goes into hiding and they never get released. So that makes you think that he just didn't give it to him, didn't want to give it to him. You know what I mean? Like, he was like, he knew, like he saw the organization where it went and was like, and didn't give them the upper level tech. So, in 1982, 83, whatever, he, could have passed on this upper level tech to some people who have it. And I think it's out there. Like, I reckon 9, 10, 11 are probably out there, and you can get them.
They are out there on at least one bridge. They're out there in that form. OT9, OT11, OT12, T13, etc., etc.
Well, no, but actually the LRH actually wrote, right? Anyway, like I think that LRH, and there's this guy who I read a book. I can't remember his name right now. I think it's John Griffin or something. I think something Griffith or something.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
He wrote a book called Revelations: A Briefing for the Peoples of Earth. And in that book, really interesting book, by the way.
Okay.
Really high data. Revelations.
Okay, I gotta try that.
Yeah, David Griffiths, I think. And
David Griffiths, I know him. I know him very well.
Is he the guy from like California or something?
No, he's English. This one I know.
This
David Griffiths I know. He's English.
I'm thinking of a different one. But anyway, he said that LRH didn't give the tech to the church, the high level, because you have to understand the OT levels that everyone knows about are just actually the pre-OT levels.
Yes,
OT
exactly.
8 and above are the actual OT levels. Anyway, in this book, this guy says that he handed the tech on to someone else, and it definitely exists. And there's a reason why he didn't give the church the high-level tech, because he knew they'd been taken over and all that sort of stuff. by the bad
Dead
guys.
right.
So they
Dead. I think so. I think so. I think you're dead right there. I think you have it. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I think that's it. I think he did give it out to others who he knew he could trust, who had helped him. David Mayo had helped him, had actually ordered him, you know. These were people he really trusted. And I think he slid it out that way. And that's why the church don't have it. And that's why we haven't seen it. But I think it is out here.
And if LRH was in con with the church in 1983, I think it was, then why would the church have released that LRH journal, Ron's journal, where they used a fake voice? Did you hear about that one? Why would they use a fake voice? You know what I mean? Like,
you got the original. The original is Ron's journal. You know.
I'm not saying that he didn't die in 1986, but he could have definitely, you know, said, "Oh crap, they've been totally taken over. There's nothing I can do about it. I've tried for years. So here's Plan B. I'm working on Plan B. I'm just going to write all of these Mission Earth books, and that's it." And so the people in the church, you know, anyway, something.
I must say, Mission Earth. Now you mentioned Mission Earth, they are some of the best books I've ever read.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
I'm not really into science fiction. But I did read the whole series of Mission Earth. I couldn't put it down. I thought it was really cool. I thought this is a picture of what's actually happening on this planet.
Yes, exactly. And hold on a second.
He's painting a picture.
Yeah, exactly. You know? And hold on a second, because people go, "Oh, you guys are like obsessed with Scientology and brainwashed, and you love Scientology, so you're just going to say that his books are good." No, like I've had people come up to me who know nothing about Scientology, but who have read L. Ron Hubbard's science fiction books and have said that he's an awesome writer and it's great science fiction. So you know. Yeah, anyway. And if L. Ron Hubbard did write a book that I thought was absolute crap, I'm totally the sort of person to totally say it. You know what I mean?
Me too,
but I thought Mission Earth was great. I thought it was really funny because it's full of heaps of humour. It's just satire all over. It mocks basically the whole of Earth.
Yeah.
It mocks the corruption of Earth, totally. And also, it's got truth in it, and that's what's so interesting about it.
Yeah. Battlefield Earth I really loved. I mean, Mission Earth, I really loved. Battlefield Earth was the one I wasn't so hard on, because I'm not a fan of science fiction. So Battlefield Earth, I didn't think was so hot, you know. The John Travolta thing, and the one John Travolta did.
Yeah.
But the Mission Earth series, the Decology, brilliant stuff. Really, really great for science fiction. Really great. And to us, really sending the message to us, you know, like, here it is, you know, this is what's happening, really, you know.
It's so interesting. I mean, it talks about, what does it talk about? Poppy fields in Turkey, like making heroin in Turkey and all these sorts of things, and secret underground bases in Virginia, which is where the CIA is based in America and stuff. And it's got a lot of interesting stuff. And even like it talks about Rockefeller, one of the Rockefellers who died or something. It talks about that, and he died by a car accident or something. And then you look it up in real life and you find out that the Rockefeller really did die in a car accident in the sort of way that's sort of told in the book. But the book has all the background, I think, information about the car crash. Anyway, you just know, because LRH knew a lot of shit about what was going on down in Earth. And he wrote this huge fiction story and just said, I'm just going to slip this all in. And
I'm just going to slip it out as science fiction.
Yeah, science fiction.
And people can take what they get, you know, from it. People just pull out what they get from it, yeah? What's real to them, you know?
And I think you can answer me this question. In the Mission Earth book, we're going to wind up the podcast soon, but in the Mission Earth book, Ella... In the book, there's an emperor of the galaxy or whatever, and he's sick and unwell because the SP has got him hooked on drugs or whatever.
Exactly.
But the SP issues orders. Doesn't the SP issue orders and pretends like they're coming from the king who's sick in bed?
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. Now, isn't that very similar to LRH as an old man sick in bed and David Miscavige issuing orders in the church when when they're not coming from LRH, and David Miscavige is pretending like they're coming from LRH. Like, that's
Yes.
interesting, isn't it?
Yes. It's almost like he's saying that. It's almost like he's saying it, but he won't, because he can't say it overtly. He can't get out there and say it, but he can put it in there and put it out, and anyone who reads it would pick it up like you picked it up. You
Yeah,
know?
you read and you go, hold on.
And I also picked it up.
Yeah, and you go, hold on, this guy's not just
did.
telling, there's too much parallels here, there's too much truth going on here. And of course, of course David Miscavige would do something like that, where he would issue orders, like he would change comms that were going to LRH, and then change comms that were coming from LRH, and then just making up comms in order so that him and his little gang of thugs could take over the whole Church of Scientology. Yeah,
I mean that's gross high crimes, you know.
Yeah.
This is stuff you can't come back from. Okay, you can always come back, but this is stuff you're gonna have to work to come back from. You know, you commit those over, it's on that kind of scale. You know, when he had the possibility to help so many people with the things he had at hand. You know, the churches and all the technology and everything he had at hand. If he'd just used it properly, man, he'd be a genuinely popular guy, you know.
Who are you talking about? David Miscavige?
David Miscavige.
Oh, yeah.
But he went that other way, and, you know, you could slowly see these people disappearing, you know, and that's what got me. I thought, they're disappearing, you know, the top guys, they're disappearing one by one. This is not right. There's something up. You know, I don't like the way these KRs are being used on people, and I don't like this disconnection. It's forced, heavy-handed disconnection, you know. The amount of time being spent on courses, almost like they're kind of trying to keep you there, you know, so they can keep a stat there. They can have a stat each month, you know, each week. Yeah. They can say, you know, because we've got these people all kind of trapped. You know, they can't leave till we've passed them. We can't send them back to their house until we've passed them, you know. So, kind of like that, you know. Very unfortunate and very, very distressing for me to see people who were audited for years, you know, being flunked over and over and over and over, you know. Okay, it's got to be a totally flawless session from beginning to end. It's not just about the three strings FN thing. It's got to be a totally good session, you know, from start to finish. I mean, with no errors in it at all, no flubs in it. And but that's fine. You can do that. That's doable. That's perfectly doable. And I think people who've been auditing for 15, 20 years and stuff like that could, you know, would sit down, do a session, whoop, take it through, 15, 20 minutes later, end a session, one process run, that's it, video pass.
Yeah, well, I mean...
That's what you'd expect, huh? You'd expect that, yeah?
Well, there's heaps of people who are, disaffected, because there were some of these people who were, like, disagree with these changes back in the 90s and stuff like that. And if I was them, I'd just get back into it and have a lot of fun and just join the independent movement, you know? It's pretty good. And
yes.
Anyway, so we should wrap up the podcast.
All right.
I just have probably one last question for you. What do you think LRH is doing now?
Oh, I think he's probably out there looking for a new place to incarnate, for a better word, to pick up for the sake of picking a better word, to incarnate and to carry on, and also to have a little look back here. I think he has a little look back here every now and again, see how it's going, see how things are going, you know. And I think he will not be totally disappointed by what he sees, actually. And I'm all for the fun in it, you know. It's like, as long as there's fun in it, it's Scientology, you know. Yeah. It's like that. It's like that, you know. Just, you know, everyone's got to start somewhere. A guy comes in and he does his first session and he's a few flubs in it, makes a bit of a mess. TRs aren't totally great. All right, fine, that's fine. You know, he's here. He's trying to help. He wants to do good. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. He'll make it. He'll make it if he has that intention, you know. And I think it's great. And I just see good things for the future. There's a couple of people I could mention who I think are doing very good things in our area. I mean, Scott Gordon I like a lot. I think he's a he's full of your scenes. He's a very easy guy to talk to, and a very easy guy he's very good at handling things, handling people, upsets and stuff like this, He's very good at running that section. Also, One Up and Dex is also doing some great things, I think, with his new techniques that are coming out, and he did one on this soldier, the PTSD soldier, which I thought was very, very good. It was a complete handling on the guy. The guy was totally fixed, apparently. He wrote a great success story that was just. I thought, wow, that's really good. That's really good.
Good.
That's a life changed. A life saved.
Good. Yeah. I definitely agree as well. I think things are just getting better and better. I can't. Yeah, I think there was a peak there was the lowest of lows in the whole dwindling spiral, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was probably like 5 years ago or something. I really think that it really got to like its lowest, and I really think that everything's moving out of it, and the internet's exposing the truth about things, and that things are getting a lot better, and there'll probably always be dramas going on because we've got SPs in the world that we live with. But things are they're going to be doing a lot better, and it'll probably be 10 years or 20 years time in the future, but there'll be another funky decade of just like great art and lots of positivity and all that sort of stuff, and lots of cool inventions. Anyway, we better end this off, Johnny.
Okay, mate.
Yep.
I think we're established, and I think everything's going to be good from now on. I do, and I really.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say thanks to everyone who's helping, and let's just keep on helping. Let's just keep doing it, man.
Yeah, and if you're if you're an indie, just don't. I know we've bagged the church a lot, but I don't know why it just comes up a lot. I'm trying to avoid it, but it's just like
me too.
I mean,
really.
But it's just like don't create enemies. You know what I mean? Don't go out there attacking people. Just do your own thing and win, and focus on the positivity.
That's what I do. That's what I do. I don't really go into what they're doing. Okay, it's okay. I see it, and all right, I could go into it, but I'm not going into it. I just keep my head down, do my own thing. Free people, do my best to move people up the best I can, and move myself up also, and everybody wins.
Yeah,
what more can
wish him the best. Like I got a letter from someone at the Advanced Org in Australia, and he said, he goes, I've heard you've joined the Squirrels, and then he put a pamphlet inside the letter that was an ethics course, right? And I was just like, what a smart ass, right? So I wrote back.
Thank you very much.
I wrote back and I said, look, I think that they've got more standard tech. And what did I say? I said also LRH is a really, really smart guy. So he would come up with a plan B, which makes a lot of sense. It does. He's too smart. So he would just go, let's have an independent thing that's totally separate, and let's see how they go. And then we've got the church, and which is connected and stuff. And and we're both on the same team. It's just that I would just say just join the funner team or whatever, or just get involved. If you're new to Scientology or whatever, you've been listening to this, get involved with the independent. I'd recommend it. It's funner.
Me too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for being on the podcast, Funky Johnny Watson.
No problem, Andy, man. It was great. It was absolutely great. It's my first one, and I'm very happy. Thank you very much. You made it very good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. See ya. Okay, so that was the interview with the Funky John Watson. I hope you liked it. I thought it was fun to do. Now, we're coming towards the end of the podcast, and it's time to finish off with an LRH quote, as per usual. And this one's a good one. Ready? The hardest task one can have is to continue to love his fellows, despite all reasons he should not. And the true sign of sanity and greatness is to so continue. For the one who can achieve this, there is abundant hope. L. Ron Hubbard. And I absolutely agree with that. Even if I made a little attacking video on Chris Shelton, he's a Scientology hater. Made a little attacking video, and I still love him. Basically, I still love everyone. You know what I mean? Even the bad guys. And I'm in it for everyone. Scientology, even the bad guys win from Scientology. You know what I mean? It's to improve everything, to make the whole world better. And even though they're acting like pricks at the moment, it's going to benefit them in the long run. So yeah, this is a very special quote because it's like, you can come across family members or just really, really bad people, and the thing is that you got to continue to love. Despite all these things and attacks people. Some people might attack, and being an independent Scientologist, you might get attacked by someone from the church saying independent Scientology is crap, or you might get attacked by an atheist on the internet or something saying Scientology is crap. But they're saying these things because that's what they think, because of the information that they've got, and also because of certain aberrations they might have. It doesn't matter. You should still love them, basically. So I'll read out this quote again, just because it's good to hear it again, all right? The hardest task one can have is to continue to love his fellows despite all reasons he should not. And the true sign of sanity and greatness is to so continue. For the one who can achieve this, there is abundant hope. L. Ron Hubbard. It's a good one. So that's it for the podcast. It's time for you to climb back out of this rabbit hole, out of this funky Scientology world. If you like this adventure, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for listening. I've been Andy Nolch, and until next time, take care of yourself and get up that bridge.